the research that I mentioned in that introductory piece kind of makes it seem as though not all that much has changed in terms of wellbeing in the legal profession sort of in the last 15 years or so. But I'm assuming that not all of our panellists feel that way. So
I guess, yeah, so probably I think as we were sort of joking beforehand, I've been in legal practice actually in New South Wales 30 years this year, so since last century. And I do think while there's still so much more to solve, I do still think we've made a lot of progress, just in relation to attitudes. I actually think, for example, even this session, I think 15 years ago, certainly 20 years ago, this would be quite rare. We wouldn't be having this conversation. It wouldn't be a mainstream topic for, debate and discussion within the legal profession. So I think that's progress. But it's one of those things where, I guess the legal profession thought that it was special, that, normal rules didn't apply to it. And, not everyone was cut out to be a lawyer and special rules applied to special high-performing lawyers or high-billing lawyers that they couldn't be held to the same standards. So I think there's a long way to go, but I do still feel like we've made a lot of progress over the last 15 to 20 years.
I certainly share the same sentiment. I think that mental health is less of a taboo topic now to discuss in workspaces, and with that comes open and honest conversations that you may not have had 15 odd years ago. I would say, however, that the challenge remains because the stressors associated with the legal profession haven't changed all that drastically, i.e. in private practice, and I've done my time in the trenches, you're dealing with the crazy billable target, you're dealing with unrealistic expectations and timelines and urgent deadlines, and so that hasn't changed. And in-house, which is where I'm at now, you're dealing with a different bucket of stress, i.e. you could be taking on responsibilities that fall outside the traditional legal remit. You may have a shortage on resources, and again, you may be dealing with competing deadlines. And so the profession itself still very much has a particular degree of stress about it. And I was watching a lecture recently that was run over by our friends over at the Cambridge Law University on the topic of mental health. And one of the things that this particular guest speaker mentioned was that lawyers are paid to worry. Lawyers are paid to worry. And so if you look at it with that lens, already you're thinking, wow, this profession is not entirely healthy, is it? Because we're being paid to take on other people's problems, and there is the tendency to either personalize the problem, and if you're not actually equipped with the skills to manage that, it then becomes a dangerous issue with respect to your mental health. And the only thing that I would also add too in terms of the stress is that we find ourselves in this new digital age where, as great as technology is, the downside to that is, however, there are now expectations that lawyers need to perform faster, be more innovative, and be more responsive and be more accessible to our stakeholders or to our clients. And that's not great, is it? And I think that, as much as I love new tech and it's awesome and it helps to make us more efficient, there is also another downside, which I don't think people have spent a lot of time thinking about, is just the administrative burden that comes with learning new technology on top of your additional day-to-day workload. And I think that that's an area to definitely look into. I'm with you, David, that we've made progress and, organizations are investing in that space and you can see it. But I would challenge the effectiveness of those measures and whether or not it has in fact translated to a better grasp on mental health for the legal profession as a whole.
So many great points there that I just, very passionately agree with. I think when I used to complain to my wife, she would make the comment of, if they didn't have problems, they wouldn't need lawyers. So, I completely agree with that. I think, we don't often talk about, sort of law as being a caring profession, but in a lot of ways it is. You're taking on board, you're the repeat player in the worst parts of everyone else's lives. They're sort of dealing with all of their day job and they're bringing the worst bits to you for you to, to help them in navigating. So, absolutely. And I think, your point about private practice, the billable hour, the billable hour almost like is the root of all evil. And, technology, technology actually just increases the expectations and pressure often, and it just increases the cognitive load in terms of the rate at which information is coming to us.
Yeah, and I guess until you, in fact, change what the root cause of these issues are,
Beautiful.
nothing is going to change.
Beautiful.